Hi guys, welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron. It is the instant match reaction. Everton 1, Manchester City 3 at Goodison Park today. Another defeat for Sean Dyche's Toffees. Not our day today. Again, I think the scoreline probably slightly flatters Manchester City a little bit. I thought we were in the game, an absolutely fantastic first half, going in 1-0 up and really managing the game well. Manchester City obviously having all of the ball as to be expected, but we were stopping them from doing anything really with it. They had a couple of opportunities in the first half that we dealt with well, and we were absolutely fantastic. On the break we were brilliant. We were creating chances, we were creating space, we were putting pressure on them, we were making the most of their mistakes, and it was always going to be a case of how Everton are able to cope with Manchester City in that second half. They were always going to come out, always going to put their foot on the gas, always going to turn it up a level. And we said yesterday when we done the preview, this Manchester City team could be at 50-60% and still win this game of football, because that's just how good they are, and that's the difference in quality between them and us, unfortunately, at the moment. And as I said, it wasn't through a lack of trying, it wasn't through a lack of effort, it wasn't through a lack of determination today. It was through a couple of individual errors and a performance from Jordan Pickford, which is definitely not one that will go down as one of his greatest. And ultimately, again, we give him a lot of praise when he performs well, so it's only fair that we criticise him when he doesn't. And another absolutely terrible refereeing decision again, which is completely ruined it for us. And I sort of just think to myself, what's the point anymore? What is the point? It's very difficult to watch a game of football like that, see Everton so comfortably in the game and battling and fighting and winning the ball back and doing well, moving it forward, and really putting in a top performance in that opening 45 minutes, and then coming out in the second half. And yes, look, Manchester City may still well have gone on and won the game. They may still well have gone on and scored a second goal and a third goal. Who knows? They did put their foot on the gas in that second half, and they were much better, and we weren't able to get near them. I think what happened is they're able to bring on 60, 70, 80 million pound players off of the bench, and we obviously just don't have that. So when our players are tired, and players like Beto are getting tired, Dom's coming on, difficult job for Dom. McNeil was getting tired, not really anybody to bring on to replace him. So it may well have ended up that way anyway, and we may have been sitting here regardless of the penalty talking about a defeat to, let's be honest, the best team in the world at the moment, because that's exactly what they are. But decisions like that and situations like that really just make me think, what's the fucking point anymore? Like, really, what's the point? I'm getting to the point with football now where I absolutely fucking despise this sport. The only reason I watch this sport is because of how in love I am with Everton Football Club. If I wasn't this connected to Everton Football Club, if I wasn't this in love with Everton Football Club, I think I'd happily go the rest of my life not watching another game of football. We've had a couple of days, obviously, over Christmas where we've been, enjoying time with family and stuff like that, and the darts has been on, and I've been watching the darts thinking, this is brilliant, everybody just having a laugh, it's competitive, it's fun, it's engaging, it's exciting. That's a proper sport. This isn't a sport anymore. It's a load of overpaid millionaires running around a football pitch, who are employed by football clubs owned by billionaires who aren't really fit to run football clubs but are allowed to because they've got loads of money, under a league that is corrupt to the core and has proven time and time again that it decides which decisions it gives to which teams. Last week, less than a week ago, Everton were denied a penalty where for Amadou Onana's shirt being ragged off of his back by Dejan Kulusevski against Spurs. He as I said on Saturday afternoon, he entered the pitch with a large shirt on and he left the pitch with an extra large shirt on. It wasn't given. It was determined that it wasn't enough to be given a penalty. Yet today, a ball is blasted at Amadou Onana from 1 yard away. It hits his underarm here. It barely glazes his arm, it smacks his arm, it smacks his face, and a penalty is being given because the Manchester City players have gone over and screamed for it, the assistant has shit himself, the referee has shit himself, and then VAR don't overturn it. I mean, think back to 24 months ago when Everton played Manchester City at Goodison Park and Rodri basically signed the ball purposely moved his arm towards the ball to control it, no penalty given. Yet today, the ball can be blasted a yard away from an Everton player. And yes, it's contact with his arm, and yes, his arm's up here, but all of this always done a natural position, this, that and the other. If a ball is blasted at you at 60, 70 miles per hour, whatever it might be, from a yard away, try and move your body out the way. Try and move your arm out the way. It is scientifically impossible for Amadou Onana to have purposely meant to move his arm towards the ball, because he could not have moved it with it quick enough before the contact, because of how close the ball was, when it was struck compared to where he was when it hit his arm. It was a yard, if that, away from him, and it's given. And yes, like I've just said before, if that wasn't given, maybe Man City had still gone on and got a second and got a third. Ultimately, we made individual mistakes in that game, and I think tiredness come in, I think fatigue come in. Ultimately, if you play for half an hour against this Manchester City team and you're tired and you're fatigued and you're a little bit off of it because of how well you've played in the last 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, whatever it might be, you probably are going to be made to pay for that. The third goal is a Jordan Pickford mistake. The first goal is arguably a Jordan Pickford mistake. If he doesn't make that movement to his right, then he's probably got enough time and space to make the save from Foden. The penalty, I mean, a lot of people say if Jordan just comes out and collects it, it doesn't get given. But it's moments like that in games like that, like I said, okay, we may still have gone on and lost that game, but had that have not been given, which, let's be honest, it shouldn't have been given, maybe we'd have settled down, maybe we'd have calmed things down, maybe we'd have taken the game under our stride again, and maybe we'd have gone and performed for the rest of the second half in the way that we did for the last, half an hour of the first half, which was absolutely impeccably, and Manchester City couldn't really do much against us, and we kept our shape brilliantly. But as I said, it just makes me look and think, I don't like this sport anymore. I really, really don't like this sport anymore. I mean, we talk about the decision, against Amadou Onana on Saturday. Willy Bolly is sent off for an absolute nonsense decision, which should never have been the case. There's been about 4 penalties that should have been given in the Premier League over the last few weeks few days that haven't been given. What's the point? Like, seriously, what is the point anymore? We know the league is corrupt. We know it. If you are denying it at this point, you're just fucking stupid, or you don't want to see it because it benefits your team. It benefits your club, so you don't want to admit it. You don't want to be seen saying something like that because you're worried about what might happen to your club. That decision today is mind-blowing. What's he meant to do? What is he meant to do in that situation? Just fucking disappear. And yet you could say, well, he shouldn't have his arm up there. He shouldn't have his arm here. He shouldn't have his arm there. When you throw yourself into a challenge, naturally your body is going to be in different positions. You can't throw yourself into a tackle every time like a fucking salmon with your arms by your sides every single time. The rule is nonsense. It's never deliberate, and it's if from a yard away. And I'll tell you something, as a matter of fucking fact, if it's at the other end of the pitch, it doesn't get given. And you can say to me all your life, you can't say that, Cam. You can't confirm that. I can confirm it, because 2 years ago, Rodri practically fucking signed the thing, and it wasn't given at the other end of the pitch. So yes, I can confirm it. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. And yes, it wasn't the reason we lost today. As I said, individual mistakes, tiredness, and the fact that we were playing a side that, are able to take off one £50 million defender and bring on a £70 million defender to replace him. But let's not forget, it's all about sustainability, this league. It's all about sustainability. Tell me how much Manchester City earn every year. Tell me how much Manchester City earn every year. It ain't anywhere near as much as what Manchester City spend or have spent over the last 10 years. I'll tell you that as a matter of fact. But, don't forget, it's all about sustainability. Everton can't spend £20 million more on a stadium, but Manchester City can bring in a £90 million defender, a £100 million attacker the year before, a £50 million this, that, the other. Do you know what? Again, and it's all of these things, and I'm not saying that, as I said, I'm not saying we'd have gone on and won the game if it wasn't for that decision, but you think about all of these things, you think about these decisions, you think about the fact that, John Stones is going off to be replaced by somebody who's just cost 90 million quid or 80 million quid, whatever it was. Everton are making substitutions. Beto's going off to be replaced with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who cost Everton, what, £1 million quid? One of the wingers is going off. Jack Harrison's going off to be replaced by Dan Juma, who's coming on loan because we were told we didn't have enough money to bring him in because we were that close to financial fair play regulations. But don't worry, City, you bring an £80 million defender on, you bring £100 million attacker on here and there. it's just bollocks. And you might say, oh, you charge like you're moaning, you're bitter, you're this, you're that, the other, you lost. Listen, as I said, we may have lost either way today. We may have lost either way. Individual mistakes were there. Like I said, I think the scoreline slightly flatter City because I think we were fantastic in that first half and we done more than enough to go in ahead. We were deserved winners. We were deserved leaders at half time. Were Manchester City deserved winners at the end of the day? Yes, probably. Because Everton couldn't touch them in the second half. They come out in the second half, they put their foot on the gas, they showed their quality, and it's very, very, very difficult for any team in the world to be able to deal with Manchester City when they're playing like that. Very, very difficult, as they've shown by winning every single thing that is possible to win over the last 2 years. So, understandable. I'm not disheartened by the performance today. I'm really not. Everton have put two really hard-working, battling performances in over the last couple of games, and unfortunately we've come away with nothing. We deserve to get something at Spurs. Maybe we didn't deserve to get something today based upon the second half, but as I said, if that penalty isn't given, who knows what happens? Who knows? Maybe they still go on and get Bernardo Silva gets his goal, maybe Foden's shot doesn't hit the post and they go on and win 3-1 anyway. Who knows? But imagine how deflating that must be as a footballer when you've worked that hard, you've gone in 1-0, at half time, you battled, you're fighting, you're working hard, and then a decision like that gets given against you. It's just, and as I said, for me, it's all about fairness. It's all about fairness. When was the last time Everton had a penalty? Somebody tell me, when was the last time Everton had a penalty? In fact, I'll go one further. When was the last time Everton had a penalty in a game where it was going to benefit Everton? I remember us getting one against Brighton last season when we were 4-0 down and we were given a penalty to make it 4-1. When was the last time Everton were given a penalty in a situation where it would allow us to either get back into a game or to go ahead in a game? When was the last time? Tell me. Generally tell me. Get in the comments and tell me, when was the last time? When was the last time an opposition player was sent off against Everton? When was the last time? Tell me. Just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And I could make a list of 1,000 opportunities where opposition players could have been sent off and they weren't, and Everton could have got penalties and they weren't. So don't come and tell me that it's not corrupt and there's no agenda against Everton and all this, because you're talking bollocks. But look, ultimately we weren't good enough in that second half, and that is the difference. And as I said in the preview going into this game, you have to be at 110% when you play Manchester City, and you have to hope that they are not at 100%, because there's every chance that Everton today could have been at 100% and Manchester City could have still come away with a win, because the difference in quality is that obvious. The difference in quality between Manchester City and pretty much every other team in this division is quite obvious. And we weren't at 100% today, and I don't think Man City were at 100%, but we weren't at 100%, and they only needed to be at 60% to be able to get the win. And they've got players like Bernardo Silva who can curl one in, and even though Jordan's made the mistake and it's poor and I don't know what he's doing, I think he just should lash the ball out of play and move on with it, but he doesn't. Whether he's trying to be clever or whether it's just a tired mistake, I don't really know. But you can't give, sorry, I've just knocked the camera. You can't give these Manchester City players, an open goal from 25 yards with the ball at their feet, because every single one of them will put that in the back of the net. Every single one of them. Foden's goal again. Jordan only has to take that one step to the right. 90% of other players in this league wouldn't have even taken that shot, and had they have taken that shot, they wouldn't have had the quality to put it in there. Jordan takes one step to his right and the shot is taken. I think it's very easy to be hypercritical of Jordan Pickford today, because ultimately he's definitely made two mistakes that have led to goals. You could argue the third mistake that, he could have come out and collected the ball and then it wouldn't have led to a penalty. But the Foden goal, the third goal, yeah, fine, it's silly. It's absolutely silly. There's no defending it. The Foden goal, as I said, yes, he's taken that extra step to his right to try and clear his view so to make sure he's not obstructed, but 99% of other players in the Premier League wouldn't have been able to hit that shot that well in the bottom of the corner. But, as I said, this is Manchester City, and Phil Foden's seen that he's taken that extra step and he's taken that chance, and you cannot give this Manchester City side even a glimmer of an opportunity. Never mind an opportunity, a glimmer of an opportunity, because they'll take it and they'll make you pay. And ultimately, that's what happened. That's what's happened today. Sorry, I do think we looked a little bit tired. I do think we looked a little bit leggy. I do think we looked a little bit, overworked, overran at the moment. But that's bound to happen at this period in the season, when we're playing 3 times a week and we're playing, some of the best footballing sides in the country. We're going to look like that. Did we deserve more out of the day? On the first half performance, yes. On the second half performance, probably no. But again, it's overshadowed by a decision that for me is nonsense. And I've got no problem in saying if it's the other end of the pitch, it's never, ever, ever given. It's never given. I tell you what, the sooner them 6 clubs fuck off to their Super League, the better. I remember sitting here when the Super League was first announced a couple of years ago and doing a video talking about how disgraceful it was, how disgusting it was, how they've tried to ruin football and how it's this, that, the other. And then I slowly but surely realised once they were effectively begged to come back to the Premier League and given a punishment of £3 million each for literally trying to ruin football, and the Premier League and Richard Masters and Scudamore and whoever else was involved effectively begged them to come back and said, we'll give you whatever you want to come back. That made me realise what's the point? Like, what's the point? And as I said, the sooner they all fuck off to their Super League and take these absolute dickhead, corrupt officials with them, the better. Because football, for me, until that point, football is just pointless. I'm not watching it because I enjoy football. I'm watching it because Everton Football Club mean the world to me. And I love this football club. I love these players. I love this manager at the moment. And I love this football club with all of my heart. That's why I watch. I don't watch football. I watch Everton. If Everton turned around tomorrow and said, you know what, lads, fuck this, we're going to go make a professional darts team instead, I wouldn't watch another game of football again, I'll be honest. Because it just doesn't interest me anymore. It's the game that I grew up loving and knowing and being absolutely enthralled with. That's dead. That is absolutely dead in the water now. Whatever this is just scripted bollocks that we're watching every single week. But ultimately, we weren't good enough in the second half, and as I said, when you make those mistakes against a team like Man City, you're made to pay for them, and that's what's happened today. I don't think we should be too disheartened. I don't think we should be too angry or too upset about it. It's just a case of moving on, getting over it, and going to Wolves on Saturday and hopefully getting a result there. Be difficult. Wolves have had a huge win away at Brentford today, so they'll be full of confidence, but as I said, we've just got to keep our heads up. The performance today, other than a couple of individual errors, wasn't anything to be embarrassed about. It wasn't anything to suggest that we're struggling or that we're going to struggle this season. It was just one of those days, and it's important that we bounce back on Saturday and hopefully get a result there. So there you go. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section down below. If you have enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. It would mean a huge amount to me. And yeah, the player ratings will be up shortly. Big thank you all for watching, and we'll see you after.